For today's cup of coffee, we're going to be discussing Edgar Cayce. And this is another one of those subjects that you do have acolytes, because you have people that just are huge Edgar Cayce peoples, and they're like other groups that if anybody questions, says ill of, that they get I don't want to say violent, but they get
just
very,
a little bit violent,
very vocal, and yeah, it's like anybody who would dare question or whatever, sort of like a heretic.
Just a little bit violent, just a little bit.
Well, I don't know that they're violent necessarily, but Edgar Cayce is an interesting study, and I've been aware of his works for a very long time, and within such, there's a huge suspension of belief that needs to be applied to some of Cayce's readings. And, I'm going to go through some of this stuff, and hopefully kind of quickly, because it was almost like it was a biography. Don't know who wrote it. This does come from Wikipedia, and of course the link will be in the description box. Obviously, it's interesting how it was reported. Because you don't know if this person was I think they were trying to be neutral. I don't know. Somebody could read the whole thing for themselves.
Yeah.
And Edgar Cayce was an American clairvoyant who claimed to channel from his higher self while asleep in a trance-like state. And his words were recorded by his friend Al Lynn, his wife Gertrude Evans, and later by his secretary Gladys Davis Turner. Now, during the sessions, Cayce would answer questions on varied subjects such as healing, reincarnation, dreams, the afterlife, past lives, nutrition, Atlantis, and future events. So he was about broad spectrum.
Okay.
Psychic.
Yeah.
And this was always the interesting part. As a devout Christian and Sunday school teacher, Cayce's readings were often criticized as demonic by his religious colleagues. Cayce, in contrast, believed that it was his subconscious mind exploring the dream realm, where he believed all minds were timelessly connected. Cayce founded a nonprofit organization, the Association for Research and Enlightenment, A.R.E., to record and facilitate the study of his channeling, and also to run a hospital. And a biographer gave him the nickname the Sleeping Prophet, and some religious scholars and thinkers such as author Michael York consider him the true founder and a principal source of the most characteristic beliefs of the New Age movement. And even within this brief synopsis, which is actually a very good synopsis, we can understand how his views on a lot of these things could very much conflict with the Christian belief system.
Right. And
so, anyhow, there's a lot of it.
There's a lot.
So, yeah. He was born in March of 1877 near Beverly, Kentucky, and had 6 kids in total. His parents were farmers. And as a child...
There's too many. Stop fucking reading.
Back in those times, they had that was a small family. This some had 15, 16,
They need to stop reading.
Well, yeah. You ask what people did when they were bored.
You talk about some emotional distance.
One of the older ones raised the younger ones. They needed farm hands.
Yeah, but the parents.
Yeah, but they needed farm hands. It wasn't a matter of emotional distance between the parents. They needed to have physical distance. Anyhow, Cayce supposedly as a child saw the ghost of his dead grandfather. And said that he knew it was a ghost because if he looked hard enough, it was transparent.
If you looked hard enough.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Well, yeah, everything looks that way when you go cross-eyed.
I guess it does. And it says he started going to church when he was 10 and just became very engrossed in the Bible. And while he was reading the Bible in his hut in the woods. Why would you have to have? Well, with 6 kids, I guess he needed to have a little
them all
bit
in
of
the
privacy.
shed.
And he claimed to have had an encounter with a woman with wings who told him that his prayers had been answered. And the woman asked him what he wanted most of all. Well, if they had been answered, why didn't she know? Right. And so Cayce had told the biographer, who was Thomas Sergrew, something like that.
Surge.
Whatever, that he was frightened, but that he wanted to help others, especially sick children. And he decided he would like to be a missionary. Cayce related that the next night, after a complaint from the school teacher, it says that he was generally, he found it very difficult to focus on his lessons, so a little bit of ADHD there. That his father ruthlessly tested him on spelling and became so angry that he knocked Cayce out of the chair.
What the fuck? That's assault.
Yeah. So got a little bit of child abuse going there. And Cayce said he suddenly heard the voice of a woman with wings and told him that if he went to sleep, they could help him.
Who the fuck is that?
Right.
That sounds creepy as fuck.
Yeah. And he says that supposedly he put his head on his spelling book, fell asleep, and that when his father came back into the room and woke him up, he miraculously knew all the answers. And in fact, he could repeat anything in the book. And he said his father thought he had been fooling him and knocked him out of the chair again. Yeah. And supposedly Cayce, from then on, studied all of his school books that way by sleeping on top of them. And I had heard of that for a long time. My personal experience, it didn't do shit. You know.
Because you were already too smart.
Maybe it trained me to sleep on my buckwheat pillow, because when you sleep on top of a book, it's kind of, you know.
That does not sound like comfort to me.
It wasn't comfortable, but, you know, hey.
And you sleep on a buckwheat pillow, really?
I like my buckwheat pillow. It's the first my pillow that you could mold it any way that you need it.
She's not a masochist.
I like the buckwheat pillow is an ancient thing. All right, it's supposedly then Cayce became the best student in his class, and he said that he saw pictures of the pages of the books. Now, that's something, if somebody has photographic memory, I think that's how that works too. Is that they can just, it's like a Xerox or a photocopy or PDF or what have you there.
Just say picture.
Well, there's varieties of pictures.
Just say picture.
And that his father was then proud of his accomplishment. So
the father didn't do jack shit.
No, he didn't. And supposedly,
I hope he cussed his father out.
No, supposedly during a school ball game, Cayce had said he was struck in his coccyx.
Coccyx?
Yeah, coccyx. That's your tailbone.
Yes.
And that he began to behave strangely. Well, yeah, if you've been kicked in the ass or knocked in the ass, that has a tendency to alter your behavior.
But if you hurt that part, it can actually fuck you up.
Yeah, well, apparently it did him. And it says that he went to sleep one night and somehow diagnosed a cure in his sleep with this ability that he had. And that the family prepared the cure according to his instructions, and it worked perfectly. And Cayce's ability to diagnose in his sleep would not return for several years. Well, I think that would sort of like, you know, lay down. Don't lay on that side. Don't sit on that side. Supposedly, well, this is actually not a supposedly. December of 1893, the Cayce family moved to Hopkinsville, Kentucky. And, you know, he went through the 8th grade there. And a lot of this stuff that, as far as his biography, is from the Association for Research and Enlightenment.
Okay.
So that's his organization that is still there today. So they're going to have a very positive take on any of his experiences and stuff.
Yeah.
And around that time, he began to notice his clairvoyant abilities.
Mm.
And also at that point, he went on to pursue employment, even with the 8th grade education. That wasn't uncommon in the 1800s. It really wasn't. And it says also that they had to stop his education because that they couldn't afford it. That was also very common in the 1800s. It's interesting. It says throughout his life, Cayce was drawn to church as a member of the Disciples of Christ. I did not look up that organization per se, but I don't know.
I've never heard of it.
He read the entire Bible once a year, every year, attended church and taught Sunday school, and recruited missionaries. He said that he could see auras around people, spoke to angels, and heard voices of departed relatives. Now, that can cause some problems within church circles because you're not supposed to talk to the dead.
Exactly.
So, anyhow, it says in his early years, he agonized over whether these prophetic abilities were spiritually derived from the highest source. The language right there, highest source, instead of them using God.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. In 1900, Cayce formed a business partnership with his father to sell insurance. I guess his father got over the knocking him out of the chair thing.
Guess so.
But in March of that year, he developed severe laryngitis, which resulted in a complete loss of speech.
Well, he just gets a bunch of shit in his life, doesn't he?
Right. Well, I think it's interesting because if you want to go into some of these belief systems, that's your throat chakra. And it's one of those, yes, I have gruff voice because I do have thyroid issues.
She smokes.
And because I smoke. I do not gargle with glass, not like I used to.
I mean, you don't sound like Roxanne just.
Not yet. But people
Hi guys, it's me,
people
Roxanne.
who have throat chakra issues that could cause laryngitis and stuff, a lot of the times that comes from deception and or lying. Not all the time, but within that school of thought that there is some kind of, that they're not speaking truth, whether it's their truth, the truth, whatever. So I found that very interesting. And I didn't use my little thing to keep my place. Unable to work, he lived at home with his parents for almost a year, and then he decided to take up photography because he wouldn't have to talk as much. All right. It says he eventually became a very talented photographer.
Hey, that's good.
And in 1901, a traveling stage hypnotist and entertainer named Hart, who referred to himself as the Laugh Man, performed near where Cayce was. And he heard about Cayce's throat condition and offered to attempt the cure. Now, how the hell did he hear about this? How did he hear about his throat condition?
Word of mouth?
I don't know. I mean, why would you do that? Especially if he's...
People talk.
No, if they got laryngitis.
I mean, he could try to speak.
And it says that... So dude was a hypnotist, and Cayce accepted the offer for dude to help. And so supposedly it took place in the office of a local throat specialist. Now, can you imagine an actual doctor going, yeah, come on in here and hypnotize dude? Cayce's voice allegedly returned while he was in the hypnotic trance, but disappeared on awakening. And Hart tried a post-hypnotic suggestion that the voice would continue to function after the trance, but this proved unsuccessful. And Hart couldn't continue treatments with Cayce because he had other places to be, and admitted that he had failed because that he couldn't go into the third stage of hypnosis, and Cayce couldn't take a suggestion. Hypnosis is interesting, but as far as implanting an idea in there and stuff, that's where you get into some MK Ultra shit. This was funny, that there was a New York hypnotist named John Duncan Quackenboss.
What?
Quackenboss.
What the fuck kind of name is that?
I think it's brilliant, especially, And he said that he found the same impediment, but after returning to New York, suggested that Cayce should be prompted to take over his own case while in the second stage of hypnosis. And that the only local hypnotist offered to help Cayce restore his voice, and in subsequent sessions, when Cayce wanted to indicate that the connection was made to the person or the entity that was requesting the reading, he would generally start off with, "We have the body."
What?
Yeah. Yeah, that's typical channeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it says after 20 minutes, Cayce, still in a trance, declared the treatment over. And on awakening, his voice was alleged to have remained normal, but apparently relapses occurred and were said to have been corrected by Lane in the same way. And eventually, the cure was permanent. I think he had more issues than laryngitis right there.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So you've got to wonder, it's like, did the hypnosis or whatever, it opened some kind of door that was already partially open.
Mm-hmm.
So Lane asked Cayce to describe, his own ailments and suggest cures. Reportedly found the results both accurate and effective. And Lane had told Cayce that it was a matter of clairvoyance. Mm. So you've got all these people around Cayce that's going, "Oh yeah, you're doing this, you're doing this," and he suggested that Cayce offer the trance healing to the public, and Cayce was reluctant as he had no idea what he was prescribing while asleep and whether the remedies were safe. He also told Lane that he himself did not want to know anything about the patient as it was not relevant. And I can understand that as far as, 53-year-old Caucasian female, you don't need to know that. Not usually. It says he finally agreed on the condition that the readings would be free. And he began with Lane's help to offer free treatments to the townspeople. And of course, Lane described Cayce's method as, quote, a self-imposed hypnotic trance which induces clairvoyance, end quote. No, he's channeling and he's being possessed.
Yeah.
And reports of Cayce's work appeared in the newspapers. Yeah, which inspired many postal inquiries. Okay, who put the articles in the paper? You got to wonder. You got to wonder on that. And Cayce stated that he would work just as effectively using a letter from an individual as from the person being present in the room. Given only the person's name and location, Cayce said he could diagnose the physical and mental conditions of what he termed the entity.
That's totally not ominous at all.
Yeah, and then provide a remedy. Cayce was still reticent and worried, as one dead patient was all he needed to become a murderer. Well, yeah.
For fuck's sake.
Yeah, I mean, and then his fiancée, Gertrude Evans, agreed with him. Because when you're doing this type thing, it's sort of like some of these internet suggestions. The Tide Pods comes to mind. Even though that was a joke.
Mm-hmm. But some people actually did it.
Right. I mean, how much intelligence does it take to know to not eat laundry detergent?
It doesn't take much.
So, anyhow, it says there was a common belief at the time that subjects of hypnosis eventually went insane, or at least their health suffered. So are they questioning Cayce's treatment or the treatment that he went through with the hypnosis?
Yeah.
Could be both. Okay, it says that he became famous and people from around the world sought his advice through correspondence. And in May of 1902, he got a job at a bookshop and he was boarding with some other professionals, two of whom were doctors. All right, and then it goes on that Gertrude and Cayce. Who names the child Gertrude? I think that was one of those names back in the 1800s that was very popular.
Horrible name.
Well, I don't know. There are some that are equally bad in today's world. Anyhow,
Gert. Gerd.
They got married.
That's
Don't
Gertrude.
do that. Don't
That's
do that.
horrible.
There may be somebody named Gertrude out there. We don't know.
Gerd.
Gertie is how that a lot of times it's.
I think of that weird esophageal, whatever the.
That's GERD, yeah, I do understand. This is the gastric reflux is what that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, they used to, the people that had those names like that, they would end up shortening them, and it was like Aunt Gertie and stuff like that.
See, I don't mind Gertie.
Right.
Because that makes me think of hurdy-gurdy.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a Gertie.
It's the same. You said the same damn thing.
Gertie.
Gertie.
You
said the same damn thing.
It's the damn accent. It's the mountain
You said
accent.
the same damn thing.
Anyhow, Casey and Gertrude had 3 children, so at least they had a little more self-control than the parents. Gertie disapproved of the readings, and Casey still agonized morally over them. I can understand that. So he knew somehow internally that this shit wasn't right. That's what I'm taking that as.
Why?
Now, you did that one yesterday.
Yeah.
And it says that then they went on, he and a relative opened a photography studio. And it says while the doctors, I guess these were the professionals that he was staying with there for a while, formed a committee with some colleagues to investigate the phenomena with Casey's cooperation. Well, I guess they'd have to have his cooperation to investigate what he could do. That's just stupid. All the experiments confirmed the accuracy of the readings. However, Casey refused a lucrative offer to go into business. And says, after a violent examination by doctors while in a trance. What the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
Casey refused any more investigations. Well, yeah, if they was violent, what did they do?
If they assaulted his ass.
Maybe they beat him with a stick.
Yeah. Power of Christ compels you.
Maybe. And declaring that after the beating with the stick, that he would only do readings for those who needed help and believed in the readings. Well, yeah, I can understand that. And they'd had some really shit luck. In 1906 and 1907, fires burned down his 2 photography studios.
God's really out to get his ass this round, isn't he?
That are his attention, which led him to bankruptcy. So he had other business offers and stuff, and he refused to do that. Especially this one guy who was a homeopathy physician, which was Wesley H. Ketchum. And I do believe in homeopathy because I can go back and tell you how the AMA demonized that and dentistry and different things like that because it was money. I always follow the money. So, anyhow, Ketchum was persistent, and it says he spread information in various medical circles. It's the snow. I'm blaming that on not being able to articulate.
I don't even see the snow right now.
And it's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. In October of 1910, he got written up in the press, and when a reporter contacted Casey, he explained to the reporter that he had somehow gotten the ability to easily go into an intuitive sleep when he wanted to, and this was different from how he went to sleep normally like everyone else. When asked the mechanism of the readings through the sleep method, they were told that it happened through the capabilities of the subconscious mind. Like I said, I really believe that the hypnosis opened a door in him that was already partially open.
Yeah.
So Ketchum urged Casey to go into business company, and after soul searching the whole night, Casey accepted the offer under certain conditions, which was that he would not take money for the readings. And he said he was prophesying. Well, now, prophesying is things that are going to happen in the future. And that goes back to where we're talking about the the library thing, or the Hall of whatever it was, a Hall of Knowledge that was supposed to be found there at the Sphinx. That was supposedly one of his prophecies.
Yeah.
If it's happening in current time, really that's not a prophecy. And Cayce read the back readings, but they contained so many technical terms that he gained no more understanding of what he was doing. All right, basically he would read the transcripts of what he said while he was channeling, and that he himself did not understand the terminology. Okay, if you've got some other kind of entity, this was not his subconscious mind. You know, some of these entities, do they have knowledge? Well, of course they do.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, when Gertie became fatally ill with tuberculosis, and they used the readings because they said that the doctor had given up, and that the treatment that was given to Cayce actually did cure her. So, and
that's suspicious.
that will know. They were saying that it worked. And in 1912, Cayce, whose everyday conscious mind was not aware during the readings, discovered that Ketchum had not been honest about them and had also used them to gamble for finance. He argued in defense that the medical profession were not backing them, and that Cayce quit the company immediately. So apparently dude was
screwing him over.
He was screwing him over, but especially with the readings.
Yeah.
But it looks like the entity could have left him a note or something that's going, hey, dude's an ass.
Well, things happen for a reason, but...
Well, and again, Cayce's work grew in volume and fame. He asked for voluntary donations to support himself and his family so that he could, you know, do the psychic stuff full time. And he continued that work in apparent trance state with a hypnotist all his life. Now that's the thing, the key on this, the hypnotist. And so anyhow, his wife and eldest son got, replaced Lane in the role. Secretary Gladys Davis recorded his readings in shorthand. And if you will notice the book over there, that one is by one of his sons.
Yeah, the ones that y'all see on screen.
Yeah. And it says the growing fame of Cayce, along with popularity he received from newspapers, attracted several eager commercially minded men who wanted to seek a fortune by using the clairvoyant abilities. There's always those kind. And it says Cayce was reluctant to help. Reluctant. Right.
Not wanting to do it.
It says he was persuaded to give his readings, which left him dissatisfied with himself and unsuccessful. So, basically, this one offered him $100 a day. Again, this is early 1900s, so it was some monies. He wanted to know daily outcomes in the cotton market. And it says that Cayce refused that dude's offer, and some of the other ones wanted to know where to hunt for treasures. Outcome of horse racing. But see, that goes back. It says reluctant, but was persuaded. So does that mean that, to me, that means that he gave some of these rich dudes readings and that they didn't come to pass, is what I'm reading, that unsuccessful. If it's an unsuccessful reading, then yeah. So anyhow, it goes on through here lots, and it really is very interesting as far as what happens, especially when he gets into the readings about reincarnation and about the soul being transmigrated.
No, you don't do that.
Well, a lot of this stuff is really how he had this other dude that was involved in metaphysics named Lamers, and that to try to situate Cayce's inner conflict between Christianity and what he was doing, Lamers declared that the 5th chapter of Matthew was the constitution of Christianity, and that the Sermon on the Mount was its declaration of independence. And I'm like, No. No. But it was a matter of justification, and I have seen that in the New Age lots. And that's where you get into Gnosticism and different things like that. All roads lead to what? No.
All roads lead to somewhere, but not where you think.
Anyhow, so this goes on for pages, which I am not going to go into all of the pages, but they are very interesting as far as his life's work, as far as them developing a hospital for treatments. At some point we will go into as far as Dr. Kellogg, because he had some really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things, we used at the health food store, we carried some of the Cayce products. And one of them was adamidine, which is supposedly an absorbable form of iodine. And it is. But you can get iodine from sea kelp. So that's, basically what that is.
Yeah.
Iodine is very much an essential nutrient, especially for those of us that do have thyroid issues. And Cayce's basis of the readings and the cures came from the digestive system, and his belief, or whatever's belief, that it was food taken into the body as far as getting the proper nutrition and the proper equilibrium of, within the system. Chinese medicine does that. Ayurveda does that, very much so. This was interesting. He prescribed, if that's the correct word, I'm trying to search for the correct words on some of these things, therapies such as salt packs, poultices, hot compresses, color healing, magnetism, massage, osteopathic manipulation, dental therapy, colonics, enemas, antiseptics, inhalants, homeopathics, essential oils, mud baths, all of those which can be very helpful.
Yeah.
And very few of those could be harmful.
Right.
And all of these have been known for probably hundreds or thousands of years.
Why? Because they were.
Right. Substances used included oils, salts, herbs, iodine, witch hazel, magnesia, bismuth, alcohol, castoria, lactated pepsin, turpentine, charcoal, animated ash, soda, cream of tartar, aconite, laudanum, camphor, and gold solution. Some of those have lost popularity, especially like the laudanum.
Right.
Which I think you have to have a prescription now to get laudanum, but it's very effective. They used to treat, it's good for digestive issues such as vomiting, colic. They used to give it to babies for colic. I think it's also addictive.
Oh, God. Of course it is.
That's why they had to make it by prescription. So Cayce keeps getting more and more popular, and some of his readings get more and more out there, such as readings about dreams, synchronicity, developing intuition, the Akashic records. Now that is a big one. We'll have to do one on that. Astrology, past life relationships, soulmates, and other esoteric subjects. Because people are pretty basic. They want to know about their health, they want to know about money, and they want to know about relationships. Those are the three things that if you're doing a reading for someone, that's what they want to know.
You know what I would ask? I'd probably ask something that I don't know if anyone has ever asked for this before. If my family's going to be okay.
Sure that is. That goes back into, relationships and stuff. Sure that people ask that. And there have been hundreds of books published on some of these readings that he did. So it is very interesting. Somebody gave him a house, let him live in a house on Virginia Beach because wealthy backer, helped him develop this school, which included what they call the hospital. And at some point, dude had lost his monies. The one that was backing them. Yeah. So he ended up hooked in with some of these people that were supposed to help him financially. It makes me wonder if he ruined them financially.
Yeah, more than likely.
So he supposedly also started doing too many readings, which pretty much killed him eventually, supposedly. And it said that prior to 1922, that he had given 8,056 readings, and that he gave 13 to 14,000 readings after that. And it says a total of 14,306 readings are available at A.R.E. Headquarters there in Virginia Beach online.
Oh, wow.
Member only section. So for a nominal fee, you get to read this stuff.
Even though it should be public knowledge by now.
I'm just saying. And it says...
Because it's old enough to be public knowledge.
I'm just saying. It says that other abilities that have been attributed to Cayce include astral projection, prophesying, mediumship, viewing the Akashic records or Book of Life, and seeing auras. It says Cayce also utilized astrology and dream work during his practice and readings, and that Cayce said he became interested in learning more about these subjects after he was informed about the content of his readings, which he reported that he never actually heard himself. Because as far as sitting there, they did like, dictation. I don't think they sit there with a tape recorder. Other people do sit there with a tape recorder.
Yeah, Ed and Lorraine Warren were one of those people who would sit there with a tape recorder.
Yeah.
But they would actually record the cases.
It's frightening. As being a former channeler, it is frightening.
I don't know, if you've listened to some of those tapes, yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't even tell that it was me because it wasn't me. Mm-hmm. There was no accent. Now, even when I was in radio, as far as getting rid of the accent, there were certain things that you just couldn't.
Right.
They were so ingrained. But those peculiarities, as far as the channel, they weren't there. And it horrifies me now. Because, it's like, it's come on in and possess me for a while. I don't think so. Now, controversy and criticism. And that's the reason we're bringing up some of these points ourselves to sit there and go, this does not sound right. Cayce advocated pseudo-historical ideas in his trance readings, such as the existence of Atlantis and the discredited theory of polygenism. Now, polygenism is interesting, and this is somebody else's controversy. This is not mine. I think there were other things they could have taken him to task over other than this. And Atlantis at some point was. We know that. Well, we think that we know that. Now, the polygenism says that there were different ancestors for the different races. I don't have a problem with that. But now, archaeology and that type of thing within that, those people, you talk about some suppression going on.
Yeah.
It says in trance sessions that Cayce reinterpreted history on here on life, and again with the 5 human races, white, black, red, brown, and yellow, that they had been created separately but simultaneously on different parts of the earth. Cayce also accepted the existence of aliens in Atlantis, and he claimed that the red race developed in Atlantis and its development was rapid. Another claim by Cayce was that soul entities on Earth intermingled with animals to produce things, such as giants that were as much as 12 feet tall.
Oh, shit.
Well, now, if he's...
Some David and Goliath bullshit going on.
Well, we know that these soul entities, as far as the fallen angels, okay, that makes me wonder right there, soul entities. Because the fallen angels, did they view humans as animals? Maybe they did. Because Scripture tells us that they did mate with human women. So that what the hell was he channeling that referred to humans as animals?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where you've got to read between the lines on some of this stuff. And it says in 2003 book, The Skeptic's Dictionary, philosopher and skeptic Robert Todd Carroll wrote, quote, Cayce is one of the main people responsible for some of the sillier notions about Atlantis, end quote. Carroll mentioned some of Cayce's discredited ideas, including his belief in a giant solar crystal activated by the sun and used to harness energy and provide power on Atlantis, and his prediction that in 1958 the United States would rediscover a death ray that had been used on Atlantis. Well, now, personally, I'm glad that he was wrong about that.
Yeah, I'm
And it says in the 1930s, Cayce incorrectly predicted that North America would experience chaos in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and those will be among those that will be destroyed before New York. Mm-hmm. Well, hell, maybe he was just late on that, on the dates on that.
Yeah.
Cayce also incorrectly predicted the second coming of Christ in 1998. Well, now, no man knows the day nor the hour. So where the hell did he get that?
right.
Now, as far as criticism, skeptics say that Cayce's alleged psychic abilities were fakery or non-existence. Medical health experts are critical of Cayce's unorthodox treatments, which they regard as quackery, such as his promotion of pseudoscientific dieting ideas and the use of homeopathic remedies. Who are these medical health experts? How many times have we seen that the medical health experts have been used unorthodox treatments and are quackeries?
Yeah.
So pot, meat, kettle. Science writers and skeptics have pointed out that the evidence for Cayce's alleged clairvoyant powers comes from sensationalized newspaper articles, affidavits, anecdotes, testimonials, and books, rather than any empirical evidence that can be independently evaluated. Martin Gardner, for example, wrote that all of the verified claims and descriptions from Cayce's trances can be traced to ideas found in the books that Cayce had been reading by authors such as Carl Jung, this one guy that I can't pronounce his name, but I will try, P.D. Ospensky, and Helena Blavatsky. Oh, she's a character in and of herself.
Oh, is she?
We'll get to that. And several of the other ones. Gardner concluded that the trance readings of Cayce contained little bits of information gleaned here and there in the occult literature, spiced with occasional novelties from Cayce's unconscious. Michael Shermer writes in Why People Believe Weird Things, quote, uneducated beyond the 9th grade, Cayce acquired his broad knowledge through voracious reading, and from this he wove elaborate tales, end quote. Shermer wrote that, quote, Cayce was fantasy-prone from his youth, often talking with angels and receiving visions of his dead grandfather, end quote. And Shermer, he sounds like an ass, so it's like that. What he said there does not prove why, Cayce, why he thought Cayce was a, hoax. Mm-hmm. Magician James Randi.
All right.
Commented that, quote, Cayce was fond of expressions like, I feel that, and perhaps, qualifying words used to avoid positive declarations, end quote. He's absolutely correct. And that happens in a lot of these New Age circles. You will have this circular logic of by these entities that are supposedly being channeled, and when you get back and listen to it later, or you really think about it, they offer no answer. And one of the ones that is the most annoying is, the answer is within you.
That one is fucking annoying.
And it's like, hell no, if I knew the answer, I wouldn't waste your time and mine by asking the question.
Exactly.
Now, for the last one, you'll appreciate this. Investigator Joe Nickel, there he comes again, has noted, quote, although Cayce was never subjected to proper testing, ESP pioneer Joseph B. Ryan of Duke University, who should have been sympathetic to Cayce's claims, was unimpressed. A reading that Cayce gave for Ryan's daughter was notably inaccurate. Frequently, Cayce was even wider off the mark, as when he provided diagnoses of subjects who had died since the letters requesting the readings were sent. End quote. Yeah. So if it was all seen, and there was another science writer, Karen Stalsnow, has written, quote, "The reality is that his cures were hearsay and his treatments were folk remedies that were useless at best and dangerous at worst. Cayce wasn't able to cure his own cousin or his own son who died as a baby. Many of Cayce's readings took place after the patient had already died," end quote. And Cayce's Association for Research and Enlightenment has been criticized for promoting pseudoscience. Now, I have no problem with alternative healing at all. I do know that some of those folk remedies and stuff very much work. We have learned very much of late how the science doesn't always, and that their cures can kill.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's one of those, was Cayce a grifter?
Possibly, maybe, we don't know.
Right. But I really think that he was channeling something.
Yeah, I have no idea, and it was not whole.
No. No, I think that he, like I said, he was getting information that...
Should not have.
Right. And that a lot of it was inaccurate because these entities deal in half-truths and lies.
Nice. Yeah.
So, anyhow, in-depth look on the Edgar Cayce. Make up your own minds on that. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you have experiences with paranormal, supernaturals, encounters, UFOs, aliens, cryptids, if you would like to contribute something on Edgar Cayce, do you believe him? Do you not believe him? If you've got local, regional, family myths, legends, what have you, to sit there. And if it's one of those, again, to sit there, Orlando, you need to really rethink this. This is the evidence that I have. I'm open very much to learning, if it's credible. It's okay to be skeptical as long as you have healthy skepticism.
Yeah.
And it is with, like I said, somebody that was formerly in the new age and did all that stuff. I know what that's about.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's like, don't go there.
Nope.
So, did I already give them the email? cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com.
Yeah, and you can also share, comment. And comment is very important. And
as long as it's positive comments. The negative comments will be yeeted.
Yeetus the fetus.
Yeah, don't be going, you suck. Well, some days, but that will be yeeted.
I'm fine with that. Yeetus the fetus.
No.
That's you know what? That's what I'm gonna call. If I ever end up having a child of some sort, I'm gonna call it Yeetus. Yeetus. I'm gonna call it Yeetus, and I'm gonna threaten all its life. I'm gonna threaten to throw them.
No.
Yeetus the fetus.
And they got on to me because I threatened to list you on eBay.
It's funny. It's fucking funny.
It was a joke.
It's easier being a parent when you can just hand them back.
It was a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly had some of your family members that got upset.
My family members? Are you not part of my family members? Are you talking about your side or my dad's side of the family?
This is your father's side of the family that got upset with me. Don't even say that.
Well, that sounds like something Nana would get upset about too.
Oh no, she didn't. She knew that I wasn't really going to list you.
I don't know. I feel because she can't detect sarcasm all that well sometimes.
Well, it depends on it,
Yeah.
I think our whole bunch on this side has a tendency to walk that edge on the spectrum. I really do.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, don't forget to like, share, most of all, comment, and click that little notification bell. The biggest thing is subscribe.
Yeah.
Subscribe, damn it.
Yeah, it's our little podcast.
Yeah.
It's something you can listen to while you
Clean.
walk the dog or wash dishes.
Yeah, on your way to work, cleaning.
Yeah.
It's background noise.
It is. It is. So you all have a beautiful, blessed day, and we'll see you on the next cut.
Yes.
Bye.